Hello, welcome to the Scratch Made Life Kitchen. My name is Kim and we are here to talk about how to age your cheeses. Okay, you're at the point where you've made your cheese, you've brined your cheese, you've air surface dried your cheese. Now it's time to age it. This is the point in the cheese making process where you're really going to develop your flavors. But before you start, you need to decide what you want in your end product. Do I want a rind? Do I not want a rind? Do I want an intense flavor? Do I not want an intense flavor? How long do I want to age? Where do I want to age? And how do I want to age? Today, we're going to talk about how you're going to age. We're going to start by talking about vacuum sealing. It's what I do the most. It's easy, to be honest with you. I don't have to worry about the humidity in my cheese cave. I can watch it because the container is clear. So if for some reason the seal gets broken, I can see any early mold development and I can mitigate that. How do you mitigate that, Kim? All right, let me do that before I lose the idea. Vinegar. And I just take a piece of cheesecloth, dab a little vinegar on it, and then wipe the surface of my cheese where the mold is. And then I leave it out to air dry for about an hour so that vinegar can completely go away. I don't want a vinegary tasting cheese. And then I would reseal my cheese, make sure it's completely dry, and reseal it. Now, a disadvantage of vacuum sealing is that you're not going to develop a rind. And if you do, it's going to be a very, very, very thin rind. Now, it's okay for me because my husband and I, we don't like the rind. We cut it off and we throw it away. And I know some of you are going, oh, that's the best part. If that's how you feel, this process is not for you. We'll talk about a couple more here in a minute. If you don't mind whether you have a rind or not, vacuum sealing is the way to go, especially when you're first starting out. Now, some people are going to say vacuum sealing is just for preserving. I'm here to tell you that's not been my experience, and that's what I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you my experience. And I also want to make this process as simple as possible because if it's overwhelming and intimidating, you're not going to do it, or you're going to start it and you're going to stop. So vacuum sealing, great starting way to learn how to age your cheeses. Great way to watch what's going on, make sure there's no mold, and be able to catch it early. Okay, now also what's great about the bags, you just write on it what cheese it is and when you made it. Now the date that you're going to put on that is the date of production. It's important to have those two pieces of information on your container. One, you want to know what kind of cheese you're dealing with, and two, you want to know when you made it so that you know when it's going to be done. You can even write on there ready, whatever the date is going to be. If it says 3 months aging, then 3 months from the date of production. Vacuum sealing. All right, we're done with that one. Next is waxing. Now, waxing is more traditional. You see a lot of cheeses in the store that have the wax on it. And to me, it's the same as vacuum sealing. You don't develop a rind with waxing. Disadvantage, I can't see the mold develop because as you can see, it's red. It also comes in yellow. It also comes in black. They're starting to develop some clear ones. I haven't found one yet. A few people have talked about it who live overseas. I'm not going to pay that kind of shipping. But I do this every now and then, particularly if I'm making gifts. If I'm making cheese for gifts, waxing is just pretty. It's a lot prettier than vacuum sealing, obviously. How do I wax it, Kim? I would love to wax it. I'd love to make some little cheeses and give it to people for presents at the holidays. So what I do is I do a double boiler type method. I chunk my wax up and I put it in a bowl. And then I take a pan and I put water in it. And then I put my wax, without the plastic on top of it, obviously, in the bowl, turn the heat on until all the wax is melted. When the wax is completely melted, I turn the heat off. I remove my pan, put it on the counter, maybe with some newspaper on it in case it slips and the mess goes everywhere. And then I take my cheese and I dip it, going round and round on the sides with a little bit of an overlay. And then I just hold it like this because it dries very quickly. And I give it about a minute to dry. And then I'm going to take it, and this is where it can kind of get slippery because once the wax is on there, it's a little bit slippery. So get a good grip on it and then dip one side in, flip it over, dip the other side in, pull it out, hold on to it until it's dry, and then repeat. And then you just either write on it, or if you can't write on the wax with your Sharpie, put a little piece of paper on there that again says the type of cheese and the date of production. That's all there is to waxing. But again, you won't get a rind if you wax. It'll look really pretty, but you won't get a rind. And you also can't watch it for mold. And oh my gosh, I cut into one that I waxed for 6 weeks and I was devastated because the whole side of it was covered with mold. Fortunately, I was able to clean most of it off. I did have to cut a little bit away, but that's why I kind of move away from waxing, is because I can't see what's going on there. Okay, that's waxing. Next, we're gonna talk about natural rind. Now, this is where those of you who want a rind on your cheese need to start paying attention. Put your phone down, or your other phone, or your iPad, or whatever device you are watching something else on. And we are going to talk about natural rind. Now, right here, I have a Swiss cheese, and you can kind of see the bulge starting, which makes me very excited. That means that those eyes are developing. And I have to leave this out at room temperature, and you develop a rind so that you can get stronger eyes. So this is one where I definitely want a rind on it. And I use a brine solution, and I don't want it super salty. And I try to only do this every 2 or 3 days, if at all possible. And this is about 1.5 cups of water and a couple tablespoons of salt. My cheesecloth, and I wipe it down, top, sides around, and the back. And then I put it in my draining container or my Tupperware with my little draining mat in the bottom. And then I protect it by putting cheesecloth over the top. So I protect it from dust and that kind of thing while it's out in the kitchen. When it's in your cheese cave aging, you don't need to do that. Or you can just set a little Tupperware top on the top without sealing it, and then it gets the air so that it can make the rind. And that's all there is to it. You can also use olive oil. I don't recommend any other oils. Olive oil seems to do a much better job. It doesn't impart flavor on the cheese. Now, if you want to mess around with coconut oil and that kind of thing, which we're going to work with here in a second, feel free to do that. Just know that some of these fats that you might use in the natural rind process are going to put a little flavor in your cheese. And if that's cool with you, go for it. That's one of the fun things about making your own cheese, is you can do what you want. We like that. The next method we're going to talk about, and that's all there is to the natural rind. If you have questions, holler at me. What we're going to talk about next is bandaging. This is a little bit more complicated. Basically what you're doing is you're putting cheesecloth and a fat on your cheese and using that to seal it to age. Now, I have one here that I did a couple weeks ago. And you may or may not be able to see, there's mold on that. Yes, there is. There's supposed to be mold on it. So part of the banding process is developing the molds to protect your cheese from molds. Now, think about that one for a minute, but it works. And I'm very excited to try this. Now, in the store, the only cheese I've ever seen that's cloth bandaged is cheddar. And what you do is you cut a piece that'll go across the top with a little bit of overlap. Same for the bottom. And then you cut a piece that will go around the outside. Where is that? There it is. It'll go around the circumference all the way. And then you're going to take some sort of fat. You can use butter, you can use lard, you can use shortening. And today I want to play with coconut oil. Now you just get it to where it's kind of liquidy. And you can do it one of two ways. You can either brush it on, or you can use your fingers. Brush it on, then take your first piece, set it across the top there where you put your oil, and smooth it on. Just like that. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Now I also need to do the sides here so that I can get my overlap. Always want to overlap a little bit with each piece that you put on. That way you know that you're not leaving anything unprotected. And again, so I just go over like this. Try to get it as smooth as possible. And if I messed up the top there, Smooth it back over. Now that works great. As you can see, it went on nice and smoothly. I like to do it like this. So let's do the other side. Let's take another piece of my cheesecloth, and I like to gently dip it in my fat. I don't know why, I just do. And put it on the top and smooth it out. I think I get a little bit more fat this way. Makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. But do it the way you like to do it. Some people don't like to get messy. I don't care. Now, if you don't get it all in, you can take your fingers and go like that. And just get it down nice and smooth. And the next thing we're going to do is the circumference. I'm going to go ahead and brush this just so that I can make sure as I'm going around, everything that I put on here before is laying down flat. So brush, brush, brush. This coconut oil smells really good. And I'm doing this just as a test, just to play around. A lot of people say, oh, don't use coconut oil. It'll put the coconut flavor in your cheese. Well, you know what? Why not try it? Okay, then I'm going to get my piece that goes around the outside of this. And again, just put it on there, smooth it on, go around, round, smooth it all the way around the outside. Now with cloth bandaging, you are going to get a little bit of a rind, not as much as you would with a natural rind, but you're going to get some. And people tell me the flavor is much more intense, so we will find out when this is ready to go. And then again, I want to do the overlap. Some people do just one layer, and at this point, when you get everything all smoothed down, you would be done. I like the protection of a second layer. Nothing wrong with either way. It's just your preference. So I would just repeat the entire process that I just did. So that's how you bandage. It's actually a pretty simple process. And why not? Give it a try. And once you've tried all 4 of these methods, you can determine which one you like the best. You say, you know what? The cloth bandage cheese gives me a better flavor, but not so much more over the vacuum seal that I'm going to cloth bandage all my cheeses. I like the waxing better. It's pretty. I'm into pretty things. That's what I'm going to do. Great thing about making your own cheeses at home. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so we talked about 4 methods of aging your cheese. Vacuum sealing, my personal favorite. Waxing, pretty easy to do. Can sometimes get a little messy, a little bit more expensive than the vacuum sealing. Natural rind, obviously next to no expense there. High maintenance though, got to be really, really on it, checking for the mold. And then cloth bandaging, which is something that people don't do very often. You really don't want to use it for your short-term cheeses. You want to do it for your harder, long-aged cheeses. You see it most often in cheddar, but there's no reason you can't use it for something like a Parmesan that's going to age for a long time as well. You never know. You may like it better. Or you may keep your notes. You might find out, okay, cheddar, cloth bandaged, Gouda this way, Havarti this way, Parmesan this way. Great thing. You can tailor make it to your desires. All right, if you have questions, let me know, scratchmadelife.com or our Scratch Made Life Facebook page, or you can leave a comment on this video. I will get back to you just as quickly as I can. Thank you for joining me today. Go forward and learn to live a Scratch Made life. See you soon. Take care. Bye.